This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The holidays are over, the decorations are down, and suddenly everything feels a little empty. It's normal to feel the winter blues after the holiday excitement. January, February, and March are by far my least favorite months of the year. It's cold and dark, and I have to get some extra vitamin D on board. I also need to keep my regular scheduled appointments with my therapist. So if you're feeling that post-holiday funk, I definitely suggest you checking out BetterHelp because maybe it's time to talk. You might also be one of those people like me who makes New Year's resolutions and you get super motivated. So maybe you need someone behind you to hold you accountable and come up with a plan to meet your goals. BetterHelp is super convenient, totally online. You have a therapist right at your fingertips whenever you need them. So head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Do you have a point of sale system you can trust, or is it a real POS? You need Shopify for retail. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify POS has everything you need to sell in person. Go to shopify.com/system, all lowercase, to take your retail business to the next level today. That's shopify.com/system.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So, Russ, we know that the 70s was prime serial killer time. There was no DNA evidence back then, so these scumbags got away with so much. One of these guys isn't talked about a lot, but he is absolutely one of the worst. And he was even a contestant on the dating game show. This is the case of Rodney Alcala. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband Russ true crime stories and he reacts to them.
What's up, folks? It's your boy Russ, a.k.a. the Bear Whisperer, a.k.a. I run way faster than Jess, a.k.a. she would be eaten.
First of all, if you follow us on Instagram, then you saw our post. We were upstate in the Catskills this weekend. And we had
Three bears. Insert porridge joke here.
We had 3 bears in our yard, which we've never seen that many bears up close before.
Yeah, and Wesley was the fat one. He was slow, but he didn't pay me any mind.
You named him Wesley.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
I don't know why.
That one just like popped in your head, that name?
Yeah. What's a cool name? This dude in my building name was Wesley, and he was cool-ass motherfucker.
Oh, okay. Well,
R.I.P. Wesley. He was a good dude. He passed not too long ago.
Oh, okay. Well, we saw these 3 bears, and then we were sitting by the fire after they left. When you think about it, it might have been kind of dumb to go back and sit by the fire, but they had left, so we felt okay.
No, they left. They just walked away. Two big fat ones walked away, and then there was like a little skinny one. From what I found out, that one was like about a year old, full-grown cub.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or whatever they call it. But as we were sitting by the fire, Jess was like, I could get to the house fast if I had to. And she had like this long dress, you know. She thought she was styling and profiling. And I was like, no shot. So I recorded. I was like, go ahead. Let's see what you could do.
And I kicked my sandals off. But my dumbass ran all the way around. And
she basically did 2 laps around the house, then ran in the door.
Did not.
And all I heard in my head was clown car music.
Well, you can see the video on our Instagram. And then, of course, because Russ had time to think about it.
No way. Well, as soon as you did it, I was like, where is she going? That is not the fastest point from A to B. And for anyone listening that ever played football, those bears would have been on angle pursuit. They wouldn't have let me run around and follow her around the rocks up to the door. Go on our Instagram and check it out. Let us know what you think. I don't want to bore you too much.
It was a really funny video. But essentially, I probably would get eaten. And I was dumb for going all the way around instead of just picking the shortest distance between point A and point B.
Yeah, I jumped up all the stairs. I jumped over the rock. But I could only jump my right leg because the left one kind of hurts sometimes. But it's still good enough.
Well, seeing bears in person was very humbling. It was crazy having nature that close to you.
Oh, you know what I should have named it? You know what one of my favorite movies is? The Jungle Book. He could have been Baloo.
Oh, Baloo. Yeah.
I love The Jungle Book, except when fucking Mowgli left for the girl. Your friends always leave you for girl, fellas. You're stuck playing Call of Duty by yourself. It's terrible.
Well, this month on the Patreon, we covered the documentary Catching the Killer Nurse. As you guys know, I'm a nurse, so I was really anxious to cover this one.
Hey guys, you know how you know someone's a nurse?
Oh, God. Oh.
They'll tell you.
You've sold that joke many times.
But did you just tell them I'm a nurse and they already knew?
Whatever. Not everybody knows. They might be new here. This might be their first week. Anyway, so we watched Catching the Killer Nurse. It's about a serial killing nurse in New Jersey who killed a lot of patients. And it was very anger inducing. I got really angry watching that one. You know, Russ had to throw in some nurse jokes, of course, because he just loves getting under my skin. So it was a really good episode. Definitely check it out. We have tons of true crime and chill episodes over there at this point. It's been going since January of 2021.
Yeah, and it's
2 years.
It's not just monthly episodes. It's also some bonus episodes, some deleted episodes when we didn't know how to do sounds. We still don't, but we hear. You can hear us.
We also have some Q&As over there, some blabber time episodes. So definitely go check it out. Patreon.com/wifeofcrimepod. And you have the patron shout outs.
Yeah. So every week I do a Patreon shout out. And these are the people that joined this week. Wow, it's a good amount. I appreciate you guys. Allie, Joanne, Hillary, Carol, Rain, not a bow. I'm going to need a little more explanation on that. Hannah, Dominic, Amika, Katie, Tatiana, Shelly, Sydney, Melanie, Elise, Hannah, Jesse, Ashley, Sophie, Lizzie, Shelby, Billy, about 3 Kims, Latoya, and Tina.
Oh, wow. You brought it back.
Get at me, dog.
You brought it back. It's been a while. R.I.P. DMX. We love him.
Yeah, so I was watching, one of my favorite shows now is Kill Tony on Netflix. It's like a comedy show where they let random people come up and do 1 minute of comedy. If I ever get the balls, I'll give it a shot.
It's on YouTube, not Netflix. Kill Tony.
You know what? I was just thinking of Red App.
Oh, okay.
And Netflix popped up. One of the two would have came up. I had a 50% shot of getting it.
Kill Tony is a really good show. I want to go live and watch it.
And a stripper went on there, and she was a comedian, and she was pretty solid. Mm-hmm. And it's very hard. She said that a week before DMX died, he was in her strip club, and she gave him his last lap dance.
Wow.
And he got kicked out of the club that night because he pulled out his dick during lap dances.
Oh, my God. Jesus.
He said, get at me, dog.
Oh, Jesus. Well, I still love him, even though he made some questionable decisions. I still love DMX.
Listen,
R.I.P.
Well, first of all, DMX probably has a pretty high success rate of pulling out his penis and getting what he wants in a strip club. If I had to guess, it's at least 80% success rate.
Okay.
You know?
Uh-huh.
And it was the week before he died, so he's probably fucked up in the game, too.
Yeah, he was.
He probably wasn't on his...
He was on a lot of drugs at that time.
Yeah. All right, so every week I do review of the week, And this one is from, I'll save the name for last.
Okay.
Staying fat, not getting kidnapped, 5 stars. Since I was about 17, I used to say 125 and below was prime kidnapping weight. That's empirical data from watching Unsolved Mysteries and the news. I do think the national average weight has risen. So has the prime kidnapping weight. It's about 150 and below now. Anyway, I've been listening for a few months and I'm all out of order. But Russ, bro, you're good at every weight. Shout out to you. How you doing? You're the profiler. Stay fit, stay alive, or stay fat and not get kidnapped. You're street smart. You're good. Now, if the zombie apocalypse comes, that biking will come in handy. Just make sure you got a little sidecar for Jess because I love how she's your balance. If you get kidnapped together, she's definitely keep you cool so y'all can get out of it. Signed, Roe v. Wade.
Like Roe v., how you said it.
Well, you know, when the whole Roe v. Wade or Supreme Court thing.
Yeah, this was a few episodes ago. This was a while
probably
ago.
10 episodes ago.
Yeah.
I thought that Roe v. Wade, Roe v. was the first name, Roe v.
Roe v.
Roe v. Wade, and there was probably an abortion thing. And, you know, so it had to do with her and her abortion. I thought it was Roe v.
Rovie, Roe v.
However you spell it. And the last name was Wade. So I got the last name right. But listen, if you watch boxing, they don't say Mike v. Holyfield.
Yeah.
They say Mike Tyson versus Holyfield.
Yeah.
So the Supreme Court is wrong as usual.
That was such a funny episode when you said that. I was literally shocked when you first said that. That was hilarious. All right.
Sorry, I spoke a lot.
Yeah, it's okay. You're allowed to speak. This is your podcast too.
Well, everyone tells me shut up, but I'm still here.
So this week, I asked the patrons what kind of case they wanted to hear. I gave them 3 choices, and the winner was a serial killer case. So there have been multiple serial killers suggested on my suggestion form. By the way, if you want to suggest a case, don't DM me because they get lost in the DMs. Go to the form.
It goes down in the DMs.
Go to the form.
That's a song, folks. I'm not weird.
Go to the form in my link tree, and there is a suggestion tab. You can click on it. It goes right to my list, okay? So there's multiple serial killers that have been suggested on this form, but there's obviously a few that get suggested repeatedly, and this is one of them.
Tell them how about the one you were going to try, but it was too crazy.
So originally, I was going to cover the toy box killer. And I know the case of the toy box killer, but to be honest with you guys, even though a bunch of you have suggested it,
my brother too, he has suggested it.
Yeah, Dave has suggested it. It's honestly really going to be hard for me to talk about. Maybe one day I'll cover it, but this is not the day because it is so gruesome, disgusting, and awful that it's going to be even hard for me to talk about. But I am going to cover it one day. It's just today wasn't that day.
Oh, you weren't feeling it?
I wasn't feeling it today. So one of my guilty pleasures is watching dumb reality shows about people finding love. Like,
oh my God.
90 Day Fiancé, Love is Blind, Married at First Sight.
I have 2 that I like.
What?
Love on the Spectrum.
Oh, good one.
I like that one.
Yeah.
And the OG greatest of all time,
Flavor of Love. I knew you were going to say that.
It's the best one. And he's from the Bronx. And he gets his jewelry from Fordham Road. Everything there is hollow, but it looks good.
So I know these shows are ridiculous, but they're like a car crash. I just can't help but watch them. Imagine, though, if one of the people on one of these shows turned out to be a serial killer. It sounds like it could be the plot of a book or a movie, but it actually happened in 1978.
They didn't have reality shows in 1978.
They didn't, but they had game shows and they had dating game shows. Cheryl Bradshaw, a hopeful bachelorette, went on a show called The Dating Game. After asking a lineup of eligible bachelors questions, she chose bachelor number 1.
Who definitely had a comb over. They all had like the side part back then.
His name was Rodney Alcala. Luckily, however, after meeting him backstage and getting a super creepy vibe, she decided she did not want to go on a date with him after all. And good thing she listened to her gut, because it turns out Rodney Alcala was harboring a sinister secret. He was a serial killer whose crimes started in 1968 and would span the next 10 years. This is the case of Rodney Alcala, a.k.a. the dating game killer. Are you ready?
Yes, but I have a stipulation.
What?
I have this beer here, Montauk Summer Ale.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to drink them no more. I have to go to the fridge and get another one and come back.
Okay.
All right, I'm back. I ran. I got Founders All Day IPA. None of these are advertisements, by the way. It sounds like it could be, like I'm ditching a beer for this one.
Yeah.
But I just like this one because it's not that strong and I could drink it and chill.
Well, now that you got your beer, I'm going to play you a video clip of the dating game so that you can see what this douchebag looked like. And you could see how he was acting and how, now that you know he's a serial killer, how creepy he actually is.
I bet I could have picked serial killer right away.
Well, let's see.
Their name, age, occupation, or income, okay? And we're going to start by having them say hello to you and see how they sound. Number 1, would you say hello to Cheryl, please?
We're going to have a great time together, Cheryl.
Okay, and here we go.
Bachelor number 1,
Yes.
what's your best time?
The best time is at nighttime,
Why do you say that?
because that's the only time there is.
The only time? What's wrong with morning, afternoon?
Well, they're okay, but nighttime's when it really gets good. Then you're really ready.
I'm a drama teacher, and I'm going to audition each of you for my private class. Bachelor number 1. You're a dirty old man. Take it.
Come on, over here.
Oh, honey, we ought to go out and boogie.
Really?
Bachelor number 1, I am serving you for dinner.
Oh,
What are you called, and what do you look like?
I'm called the banana, and I look really good.
Can you be a little more descriptive?
Peel me.
Later, Bachelor 1, later.
Welcome back to the dating game, and Cheryl, we have reached the moment of truth, as we call it. You've heard from the bachelors, you got some great dramatic presentations, some good answers, but now I'm going to ask you a question. Will that date be bachelor number 1, bachelor number 2, or bachelor number 3? Who gets the dates?
Well, I like bananas, so I'll take 1.
Number 1, bachelor number 1, all right. Well, there they go.
Oh, she was on there trying to get down, looking for the banana hammock,
Oh,
son.
God. I know the banana thing was a bit much. So.
All right, so how about if you answer one of the questions?
Okay.
I'm serving you dinner. What do you look like and what are you called?
I'm a chicken cutlet. Because it's your favorite food of all time. I'm very crispy.
No.
But you love it.
You would have not been picked. You just, all right.
Chicken cutlet is your favorite food of all time.
Yeah, but you could have said, I don't know, I'm juicy or something. I don't know. You know what I would have said?
What?
What I'm called? I would have been like, they call me D's.
Oh, Jesus.
And then she'd be like, oh, I want D's nuts.
Mm-hmm. Well, Cheryl, you know, like I said, after she finally saw him, because, you know, they're behind a screen and the women can't see the men on the other side. So after she finally met him, she was completely creeped out. They went backstage, they talked, and she was like, oh, no, I'm not going on a date with this guy. He's way too weird.
He visually might have been the better looking out of them, maybe. I don't know. It went pretty fast. One of them I know looked like Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah, he was definitely the better looking one out of all three of them, but he's not attractive to me. He is not cute.
Well, they both had the same exact haircut, her
They did.
and him.
They did.
It was pretty feathered.
It was feathered and big. So Rodney Alcala was born on August 23rd, 1943 in San Antonio, Texas. His family moved to New Mexico when he was young. And by all accounts, Rodney seemed like a totally normal kid. His father left the family when he was 8 years old, but other than this, his upbringing was pretty typical. He was very popular with the ladies in high school, and he had lots of friends. When he was 18 years old, he enrolled in the Army, and he worked as a clerk. About 3 years in, however, Rodney suffered a nervous breakdown. He was seen by the military psychiatrist who diagnosed him with antisocial personality disorder, which is a diagnosis that a lot of serial killers have. According to Mayo Clinic, antisocial personality disorder, sometimes called sociopathy, is a mental health condition in which a person consistently shows no regard for right and wrong and ignores the rights and feelings of others. People with antisocial personality disorder tend to purposely make others angry or upset and manipulate or treat others harshly with cruel indifference. They lack remorse. And they do not regret their behavior after they've done it. People with antisocial personality disorder often violate the law, become criminals. They lie, have violent, impulsive behaviors, and problems with drug and alcohol use. They have difficulty consistently meeting responsibilities related to family, work, or school.
You know, one of those characteristics of they do not regret their behavior. I prefer that. Because you know who I hate? Someone that does something like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. You did it on purpose. You didn't mean it if you tripped and fell.
Yeah.
But you just didn't like that I didn't like it.
Yeah, we had this whole conversation on our Patreon episode about the nurse. Remember the serial killer nurse when people were expecting him to be remorseful and he wasn't, and you said,
"Oh yeah,"
you said you wouldn't care if he was sorry.
Yeah, because it's not a mistake.
He did it on purpose.
It could be a mistake if you dropped a glass. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I broke that. I dropped it.
Mm-hmm.
Your car accident. I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. But anything you did on purpose, and you tell me you're sorry, you're only sorry that I didn't like what you did. If I didn't like it, you just would be like, fuck that. That's right. Fuck yeah, that's what I do. So everyone out there, hold your sorries and change your behavior.
Yeah.
That's how you say sorry, by changing your behavior. You could take them words and shove them up your butt.
A lot of people with this disorder tend to be killers and do horrible things. So after this diagnosis, Rodney was released from the Army on a medical discharge. He moved to LA and he attended UCLA School of Fine Arts, where he would graduate in 1968 with his bachelor's. Rodney was still popular with the ladies, and he had an incredibly impressive IQ. His IQ was 170, which is actually insane because Albert Einstein and Stephen Hawking both have an IQ of 160. So this guy had a higher IQ than Albert Einstein and Stephen Hawking.
How'd Stephen Hawking take that test?
He didn't always have his disease, Russ.
Wait, so
he wasn't born like that.
Wait, so they knew he was smart before he ended up in the chair?
Yes, you need to go watch his biography. He's been smart his whole life.
Oh, I thought they just found out.
No. So Rodney Alcala was, by all accounts, a genius.
Same IQ as me. Good job, son.
Yeah, okay. So 1968, the same year he graduated college, would be the year that his crimes began. Trigger warning, everyone. Trigger warning on this part. We are going to talk about violence against a child. 8-year-old Tally Shapiro was walking to school in Hollywood when a man in a beige car pulled up next to her and asked if she needed a ride to school. At first, Tally said to the man, "I don't talk to strangers." And she kept walking. But the man said, "Oh, no, I'm not a stranger. I'm good friends with your parents. In fact, I just saw your dad, and he's the one who told me to meet you here and drive you the rest of the way to school." Tally wasn't too sure about this, but the man did look like a friend of her father's, And after a few minutes of them talking, she started to believe that maybe her dad did send him to pick her up. So reluctantly, 8-year-old Tally got in the car with Rodney Alcala.
Damn.
Luckily, though, a man who lived right nearby saw this interaction between the young girl and Rodney and felt really weird about it. So he decided he wasn't just going to let the car drive off.
Wow.
He got in his own car and followed their car.
I love that.
Exactly.
See, I love action. When a lot of people are like, I would do this, or they're like, I'll call the cops. Like, no, this dude.
He got in his car and he followed them.
Yeah, because if you get in a car and follow someone, you get killed.
Well, they ended up in front of Rodney's apartment, and the man watched as Rodney forced little Tally into his apartment. The man immediately calls police. When cops arrive, they knock on the door, and they could hear Rodney say, "Oh, hold on, I'm just getting out of the shower." And the cop said, No, you need to open the door now. And he's like, "Oh, give me a few minutes." But after a few minutes of waiting, the cops didn't care anymore.
They really even waited?
And
they should have bust that door down.
Well, they ended up busting it in after like 3 minutes. When they entered the apartment, they found little Tally laying face down in a pool of blood.
She was dead already.
She had been raped and beaten in the head. At first, cops thought she was dead. But after a few minutes, they heard Tally begin to moan and breathe. The cops were so focused on Tally and getting her, help that Rodney escaped the apartment by jumping out of a window, and he would go on the run. EMS arrives, and luckily they stabilized Tally enough to rush her to the hospital. She ended up being in a coma for 32 days. But miraculously, she would eventually wake up. It took her months to recover. She had to relearn to walk because she sustained such a horrible head injury and was in this coma for such a long time.
This piece of shit.
So police would go back to the apartment and search his place. They found identification. They found his school card, and they realized that he was a college student, or he just graduated college from UCLA. But Rodney at this point was long gone. He ended up running off to New York City and changed his name to John Berger. He enrolled in NYU's film school and lived in New York City for 3 years, completely undetected, even though he was now on the FBI's most wanted list.
Yeah, well, the world was bigger back then because we all couldn't interact with each other with the internet and stuff. And, the only time you saw these wanted posters was on like the news at 7. If you missed the news, you don't see who's wanted.
Exactly. So he really was undetected, and he changed his name to John Berger, and everyone knew him under that name.
Yeah, but was he in New York on his bullshit like this?
Oh, yeah. He was on some bullshit. We're going to talk all about it. So sadly, Tally, her parents, they kind of avoided everything. After she recovered, they didn't talk about it anymore. And as an adult, she's in interviews saying that her parents refused to bring up what happened to her, refused to talk about it. They ended up moving the family to New Mexico. They didn't get her any kind of therapy or mental health help, and she kind of just pushed it all down. So unfortunately for her, she had a lot to deal with as she grew up.
It's tough, man. What parent knows the right thing to do? They're all in a situation.
At this point now, this was the 70s, so I get it. But at this point now, we know the right thing to do when trauma happens.
I don't, because every situation is unique. There's no uniform way to deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm better with not talking about things and brushing them under, just leaving them alone. And like you want to talk about it and never stop. So everyone's different. In this world, everyone thinks, everyone wants therapy. Everyone wants to talk about stuff. But there are people that feel better, like me. If we just don't talk about it and let it go and be like, you know what? I'm just going to move on with my life and not think about it. And people think that's wrong. But whatever's the best solution for you.
Yes, but she's 8. She's not an adult that can make those types of decisions. She's 8 years old.
Oh, no, 8 years old.
Her parents' job is to try to, do what's best for her.
You got to make her feel good. I don't know how, but...
Well, in the summer of 1971, Rodney got a job as a camp counselor in New Hampshire. Terrifying, right? But right before he was set to leave for New Hampshire, he agreed to help an acquaintance named Cornelia Criley move into her new apartment on the Upper East Side. After Cornelia's boyfriend didn't hear from her all day, he called the police and asked them to conduct a welfare check. They found Cornelia, who had been raped and strangled with her own stocking. Her front door was locked from the inside, which means whoever did this left through the fire escape. This case baffled police, and because this was the time of the Son of Sam murders, he was running rampant right now in New York City. They kind of put a lot of resources towards that. Plus, this is the 70s in New York City. Like, there's the Son of Sam, there's the Times Square killer. Like, there's also just the high crime rate of New York City in general. And a lot of resources didn't really go towards this case. It ended up going unsolved for 40 years until eventually they matched a bite mark on her body to Rodney. But more on that later.
Bite marks and a lot of this stuff is kind of pseudoscience, as they would say.
Yeah.
It's not perfect.
No, it's not perfect. We'll talk about later how he ended up getting caught for that one. So Rodney went off to New Hampshire to work at that summer camp. But shortly after arriving, 2 girls in the camp recognized Rodney from the FBI's Most Wanted poster.
I would never. Good job.
And they called the police. He would be arrested and sent back to LA. But this time, however, it had been 4 years. And after Tally recovered, like I said, her family moved to New Mexico. Her parents refused to allow her to testify in court in front of Rodney. And sadly, because of this, the prosecutors had to offer him a plea deal because their star witness, the actual victim, wasn't there to testify against him. So this asshole would end up only serving 34 months, which is just under 3 years for the crime against Tally.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It's because her parents refused to let her testify. And they didn't have DNA evidence back then. So
what did they convict him under?
Kidnapping and child molestation. Originally, he was, charged with attempted murder, kidnapping, multiple things, battery, assault, all this other stuff. But they reduced it down and he got a plea deal and only served a little under 3 years.
Wow. So these parents were just trying to brush everything under the rug and act like it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure they didn't. No one is equipped to know how to deal with this situation. It seems, in hindsight, it seems like the wrong decision. But when you're in it, man, how do you know?
True, but also it's the problem with our system, and that a child molester who committed this heinous crime only got 3 years in prison.
Isn't there a new thing now when children are testifying, the child molester isn't in the room, so they're not intimidated? Yeah,
they'll do it via FaceTime or Zoom, or they'll pre-record it and then play it in the court.
Well, I thought sometimes that's a better idea than even bringing them in the court. I thought that they just don't even have the piece of shit in the room. Yeah,
so I don't know. Maybe also, it's different. Maybe varies state by state.
That would be better though. Record it in a in a natural setting for the kid, and set up a little phone camera, something that's, not intimidating with a light.
Yeah.
So they can be their natural self and not be intimidated.
I know. You guys already know because we have been talking about them for a while now. Via Hemp is by far one of our favorite sponsors we've ever had, okay? We use their products all the time. Maybe you're a little like me. You're a little anxious. You have a hard time settling down. You're kind of wound up a lot. If that's you, Via Hemp products are for you. Check out their website. You will find something that speaks to you. Maybe you're like Russ. You have a hard time sleeping because you have bad nerve pain or chronic pain. Then Via Hemp is for you because their gummies will help you get some quality sleep. Maybe you're looking to have a really good time. Maybe you just really like edibles. You want to laugh. You want to get the munchies. You want to watch a movie and have a really strong belly laugh. Then Via Hemp products are for you, okay? They're literally for everybody. So head over to viahemp.com, promo code wifeofcrime1 to get 15% off your first order. That's VIIAHEMP.com, wifeofcrime1 for 15% off your first order. Last year, Save More Money was the most popular New Year's resolution in America. Clearly, a lot of us feel like our money is slipping through our fingers. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not the best saver, and I don't know much about investing until I started saving and investing with Acorns. Turns out you don't have to be an expert at all because Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that fits you and your money goals. And I always thought that when people say, ooh, I invest in stocks, that they had a ton of money or something. Well, you don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you invest with the spare money you've got right now. You can literally start with $5. And you know you guys are spending that at Starbucks on these fancy lattes. So skip the coffee and invest with Acorns. You don't even need a ton of time. Like you can just sign up and start investing within 5 minutes. Head over to acorns.com/wifeofcrime or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. That's acorns.com/wifeofcrime. Well, within 8 weeks after he got out of jail for this, 3-year prison sentence, he was sent back to jail for violating his parole when he gave weed to a 13-year-old girl. She told police that Rodney kidnapped her, but he wasn't charged with that. He would spend 2 more years in prison for violating his parole. After his release, he returned to LA and got a job working for the LA Times.
That was a big deal back then, too, though. Like, the newspaper's a big deal. Like, anyone knows, if your grandparents saw you in the newspaper, they still have that shit right now. Grandparents don't play with the newspaper.
They don't.
They take that shit to the bingo hall and everything, and now they probably put it on a T-shirt.
Yeah, grandparents love when you make it into the newspaper. It's so true.
Yeah.
In 1977, he convinced his parole officer to let him travel to New York City to, quote, visit family. During this visit to New York, he would rape and murder another woman named Ellen Jane Hoover. Her bones would be found 11 months later in Westchester, near Tarrytown. While investigating her disappearance, many eyewitnesses said that they saw Ellen talking to a man who matched Rodney's description outside of her apartment. But at the time, they had no body, no evidence, and they couldn't hold Rodney. So he drove back to LA. I can't believe that his parole officer let him go to New York City after everything he's done.
Yeah, especially with like all the crimes. Maybe this dude was a good talker. Obviously, he was like a little funny dude, according to like the show we were watching. Apparently,
he was very charming. And that was one of the things, like police, everybody, when you watch interviews and stuff about him, everyone said he was very charming. In November of that year, he murdered 18-year-old Jill Barcombe.
Jesus Christ.
Who had recently moved from New York to LA. It was originally believed that Jill was a victim of the Hillside Strangler, another serial killer that was active at the time.
I heard that name.
Rodney was even questioned in the Hillside Strangler murders. Isn't that crazy? He was questioned in the serial killing murders as the Hillside Strangler, but he was another serial killer committing serial killing crimes. How crazy is that?
They questioned him thinking he might be a Hillside Strangler?
Yes, but they let him go.
But he is in their eyes because they thought the Hillside Strangler did this lady, so they couldn't distinguish which killer was which. They were just fucking... What was this, in the 70s, you said?
Yeah, this was
in
70s.
the 70s, people just going around killing people. It was easy to kill people back then. There was no DNA.
Yeah.
You know, you could... And if someone didn't see you do it, there's no cameras.
Yeah, it was nuts.
You're just doing whatever you want back then.
Yeah, so he was questioned in this Hillside Strangler case, but he was let go. But he was also a serial killer out serial killing people. Over the next 2 years, he would go on a murder spree. He would murder numerous women under the guise of being a photographer.
All right, first of all, ladies, let me get this out the way. There's no one more fucking annoying and creepy, me as a man, as a previous bartender, than the guy that comes with his stupid ass camera, with his stupid ass lens on, talking to women in bars, telling, oh, let me take your picture.
Yeah.
Never trust that fucking dude. That dude is a bigger corn than anyone you ever met. And if you ever fell for that, you're a cornet.
Cornet.
Don't fall for... Fuck your camera. First of all, nowadays, folks, tell them, I got an iPhone Pro. Back up, fucking schlub.
Yeah.
But before iPhone Pros, and there would be the dudes with the lenses. And I'm like, look at this fucking clown. This is your shtick?
Yeah, yeah.
This is what you bring to the table, a lens?
Well, that's what Rodney brought to the table. Is believed that he would approach women and children and ask if they'd be interested in a photo shoot.
He's one step away from wearing a snake around his neck in Times Square. Those are big-ass corns. You take the snake off your neck, and if you listen to wear a snake, put that shit in a cage.
He would take these people, women and children, to a location, sometimes even in public places. He would strangle them to the point of almost death. Then he would allow them to regain consciousness and strangle them again. And he would repeat this over and over again before he would rape and murder them. And it's been told by people who have studied his crimes, like forensic psychiatrists and stuff who studied his crimes, that he would do this strangle until almost death, but then allow them to wake back up because he loved seeing the fear in their eyes when they would wake up and realize that they weren't dead. So gruesome. In 1978, in the middle of his 2-year killing spree, he would go on the dating game show as the contestant. So
Often?
This happened. No, this is when he went on the show.
I thought you
in
meant
the middle of his 2-year killing spree.
I thought you meant he would go, like, that's his thing. Like, you know, he goes every now and then.
No.
So he just went that one time.
So how he got on the show baffles me because how did they not vet him? Like, don't you think that they would at least, like, do a background check on these people?
Jess, there were no computers. Who do they call? What do they call every single state? Can you look through the files and, like, go through your papers?
I know, but it's just crazy.
No, you weren't typing in the fucking computer.
I know, but it's crazy.
Through paper? You know what I mean? Like, think about it.
But it's crazy. He was in the middle of a 2-year killing spree, and he ended up as a contestant on this show, and he won.
It's not that crazy back then. Everything was easy. You got away with anything back then. Like the mob, all this stuff. There's no cameras, and records aren't, like, shared. What are they going to send? Every person that commits a crime, they're going to send a paper to another state. Hold on to this just in case he comes over here.
No, you're right. It's just crazy to me. So he won the game, but thank God Cheryl was creeped out by him. And that probably saved her life, her being creeped out when she met him, because she could have easily been another victim.
Oh, she was definitely next.
He continued to commit crimes after being on the show, but he was finally caught on January 20th, 1979. 12-year-old Robin Samso was hanging out with her friend on Huntington Beach when the girls were approached by Rodney. He had his camera. He told the two girls, "You're beautiful. Can I take pictures of you?" But right as he started talking to them, one of Robin's neighbors, who's a woman, walked right over and asked if the girls were okay.
Good job.
And Rodney was, a little spooked by this and immediately walked away. But a few hours later, Robin was riding her bike to ballet class. She never made it to ballet class. Police investigated the disappearance, and that's when Robin's friend and her neighbor gave police the description of the creepy photographer guy on the beach. They made a composite sketch and put it all over the news. Rodney's parole officer called the tip line and said he was sure this was Rodney Alcala. Several other witnesses came forward and said that they saw the man in the sketch and that he had approached them on the beach as well, asking to take their picture.
Stay away from fucking clown camera, guys.
12 days later, a park ranger found Robin's remains in the Pasadena foothills. Sadly, due to decomposition and the fact that her body had been eaten by animals, police couldn't determine a cause of death, and it took them a while to identify her. Rodney had a large portfolio of pictures of women and children. He rented a storage unit when police were investigating him because he could feel that, they kept questioning him. So he rented a storage unit and he moved all of his photos and the trophies from his murders into this storage unit. Police eventually found the storage unit and searched it. They found hundreds and hundreds of photos of potential victims, as well as Robin Samso's earrings. Police released the photos to the public with hopes that people could identify the women and children in the photos, and possibly some cold cases could be closed.
If there was internet like today and you could share them around the country, it'd be so much easier. That's why, back then they got away with so much.
Well, his portfolio is currently online, and you can look through it and see if you know someone or if a family member or somebody is in there that you might know.
I wonder, if some lady looks now, like, I remember that guy. He took pictures of me.
That's happened.
He didn't kill every single person because the opportunity, he was a bit of an opportunist. Mm-hmm. So he didn't get everyone.
So his trial for the murder of Robin Samso began in 1980. He was found guilty and sentenced to death. However, 4 years later, his sentence was overturned because the jury was not accurately informed of his prior sex offenses. So he got off on a technicality.
Wait, when you say off, he didn't get out.
He got out.
Get the fuck out of here.
He was tried.
From death penalty to out, you got to stay in jail.
Well, he was tried again for Robin's murder, and he was found guilty and sentenced to death again. But 15 years later, his conviction was overturned again because of another technicality at the second trial.
Can someone in jail just
often
do them?
Yeah. Finally, in 2003, he was prosecuted again, but this time they had DNA evidence against him. He was found guilty using DNA evidence of the murders of Jill Barcombe, Georgia Wickstead, Charlotte Lamb, and Jill Parento. Tally Shapiro, the little 8-year-old, she's an adult now, and she came and testified at this trial against him. During the trial, he decided to represent himself, but he literally questioned himself and would switch back and forth with a deep voice pretending to be his lawyer.
This clown is boiling my blood pressure.
And then referred to himself in the third person. He would literally say, Mr. Alcala, do you blah, 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 blah. And then he would switch characters and be like, yes, da, 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 and talk in his regular voice. How weird and creepy is that?
He's a fucking creep.
He also cross-examined Robin Samso's mom on the stand. Imagine you're the parent of this child, 12-year-old child who was raped and murdered by this man, and his conviction was overturned twice in your daughter's murder. Now you're on the stand as a witness and he's cross-examining you. I would want to shoot him in the face.
Can I just get my hands on him?
I know, right?
That's what I'd be thinking. Because sometimes you see, in these court cases, the family members try.
Well, you can look up footage, and he literally calls Robin's mom a liar. It's infuriating.
Oof.
Luckily, he was convicted of all the murders, and this time the sentence stuck. In 2010, police released the photos of the women and children found in the storage unit online. Within weeks, 21 women came forward to identify themselves, and 6 families came forward to identify loved ones that have gone missing.
Oh, shit. So there's so many more.
In 2011, DNA evidence linked him to the 2 New York City murders, but he was never convicted of the murders because since he was on death row, New York City prosecutors decided not to pursue charges.
Listen, he's still getting punished.
Mm-hmm.
and they know what happened. Does it matter to put the family through all that agony again?
Yeah.
Or will it make them feel better to go through it? I wouldn't think so. If it was me, I'd be like, we know it's him. He's going to be killed.
Yeah.
And, unless you could let me kill him personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I kind of think they should always ask the family, you want to do it?
I know.
We'll hold him down. You want to stab him in his neck?
Well,
you get to choose.
Unfortunately, I mean, I know you say that all the time because you're into vigilante justice,
No,
but that's just not the world we live in.
Well, there's a lot of religious people out there, an eye for an eye. I'm not religious, but, I think that the punishment fits the crime in that case.
Mm-hmm.
And we probably can't allow that in the street,
Mm-hmm.
but I think when it comes down to it and it's guaranteed that the person did it, if the family member wants to be the firing squad, let the whole family members be the firing squad. I don't care.
Yeah.
He's going to die anyway. If that'll make them feel better, it probably won't in the long run. They'll probably be a little traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
But someone like me, I'd feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. In 2013, a woman named Kathy Thornton came across Rodney Alcala's photos online, and she saw a photo of her sister, Christine, whose remains were found in Wyoming in 1982. Her case would remain cold for 40 years, but he would eventually admit to taking the photo, but denied murdering her. So listen to this.
Would he really lie? Because at this point, he's done.
Well, this is what happened. Cops show up to his cell. At this point, he's old. He's been in jail a long time. They show him the picture of Christine. He takes it in his hand, and the police said he traced her body with his finger. And then he started tapping on the photo. And then he said, yeah, I took this photo. But then he didn't say he murdered her. But the police said with the way he was acting, it was almost like he had like a smirk on his face and he was like tracing her on the photo. And they believe he definitely murdered her just by the look on his face.
You know what? At that moment, he felt like he had some power.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't had any power in his life in a long time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened, but either way.
He definitely did it. He was the last person that she was with before she died.
Yeah, so he probably did. But, back in the 70s, it seemed like everyone was a damn serial killer.
They ended up charging him with her murder, but he would not be well enough to stand trial. And even though they tried to have this trial in 2016, he was never convicted of her murder, but police definitely believe he was guilty. He was officially convicted of 5 murders and has been definitely linked to 3 more using DNA evidence. But he is believed to have committed up to 130 murders.
That many?
That's what police think.
Even if it's half of that, it's still crazy.
On July 20th...
Even if it's one of them, it's crazy. I don't want to negate the amount of bodies, but just amount of bodies is insane.
It's insane.
And then how did he keep getting away with it in the moment,
He would dump their bodies in different places all over. Wyoming, California, New York City.
Because there was no DNA. He would just fucking put them anywhere, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy. So on July 24th, 2021, just 2 years ago, Rodney died in jail while on death row of natural causes. He was 77 years old.
He lived too long. And, he probably had a peaceful life fucking in jail, just being
Sitting
isolated with a
row.
book.
Yeah.
While our tax dollars fed him.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They should have fed him, the mice they catch in prison and just put them in a bowl, do what you want with them.
Well, the food in prison doesn't look very appetizing. I've heard it's pretty gnarly, unless you were in the mafia and you had steak dinners. Because I feel like the mob guys used to cook steak dinners.
Well, you're watching too much Goodfellas.
I know.
That's all we really know. But it looks very school lunchish to me.
Yeah, it does.
Shout out to some of the school lunch. I like the beef patty and I like the pizza.
No, I used to love the pizza for my school lunch.
Yeah, well, I liked it because it was better than crap. You liked it because you didn't have good pizza in Maryland.
That's true. In Baltimore, we didn't have New York pizza. That's the truth. So that's our case this week. That's the serial killer case. You patrons got to choose. You got 2 serial killer cases between the Catching the Killer Nurse and this one. So that's enough serial killers for a little while.
It intrigues me more. I don't know why, but it also makes me mad. Like, this one makes me mad, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He's preying on
little kids.
Little kids.
Yeah, I know.
And then women, don't let these dudes trick you with cameras. There's always that clown-ass dude with a camera.
I feel like that doesn't really happen as much anymore.
I guess now because people have iPhones, they're probably like, God damn, Apple.
Yeah, right. The creeps who didn't have had no game. The only game they had was their camera.
Every time Steve Jobs came out and the iPhone megapixels went up, they were probably pissed.
Definitely.
One thing I saw from this episode, though, is you can stop things from happening. If you see something happening,
mm-hmm.
you don't necessarily have to physically get involved. Make the person think that they're being watched. You could just be like, hey, are you okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's how that lady saved, he didn't kill one of the people. So maybe something as simple as that can really help you, but you are putting yourself in danger by getting involved.
Mm-hmm.
But that's minimal. Just, are you okay?
Yeah.
And now they know that someone sees what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe as a community, as the crime family that we are,
mm-hmm.
we should, if you see something happen, just ask if someone's okay. But the problem is, if they say they're not, what do we do?
Yeah.
I just call the police.
I guess.
Just say I'm calling the cops.
You don't want to get yourself in danger, but there are times where, I was watching a video the other day of a girl who was being followed by a guy, and a group of girls noticed that a guy was following this girl, and the group of girls didn't know her. Just walked up to her and was like, hey, oh my God, so good to see you. Hey, how are you? And just pretended they knew her. And the guy ended up turning and walking off.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they saved this girl's life. And I saw another video similar where this girl was being followed by a man, and a guy saw her being followed, and he walked up to her and was like, yo, get away, go away, to the dude who was following. So people do step in. I think it is a good lesson to be learned here, that something as simple as just saying, are you okay, can really make a difference.
Yeah, it's minimal. It's
mm-hmm.
very minimal.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, are you okay? And if you're one of these pistol packing Texas women, they're just like, say you ain't okay so I could blast them.
Right? Definitely. We got a few of those listeners here.
Yeah, when I bring
right
up Texas, or Florida, Florida got the pistols.
Yeah.
After seeing those bears, I did go to the hunting store and inquire about shotguns. I love animals.
Yeah.
I would not shoot anything.
Yeah.
Unless
we were in danger. Biggie was in danger. I was in danger. Lucy was in danger.
The bear would probably have to be chewing my leg off for me to do something. But I'm gonna get bear spray for sure.
Yeah.
And I did look into a shotgun.
Yeah.
But just you gotta be prepared.
Definitely.
And a friend of mine that I work with, in my union, he was like, he goes, they were doing a movie upstate and there were bears.
Mm-hmm.
And we're from New York City. We don't, we're not legally allowed to have guns. We have M80s.
Yeah.
You know what M80 is?
No.
You said yeah.
I was agreeing with you. What is an M80?
It's like a mini stick of dynamite, like a quarter stick of dynamite.
Uh-huh.
So you just light it and it makes a big ass noise, like boom. So 4th of July, when you hear those giant booms and you don't see nothing in the sky, it's M80s.
Oh, I had no idea. Good to know.
Yeah, so he was like, just get some M80s when you see the bear, light them, and then you light it and you toss it. And he goes, you won't see them anymore.
Oh, okay. So that's not as bad as shooting a bear.
No, I do not want to shoot a bear. I just want... Listen, I want them to be my friend, honestly.
He really does.
We don't speak the same language. If we could figure out how to be friends, but I don't know how to be their friends. So they just have to leave.
And if you guys are in the mood to be completely terrified, watch the scariest movie of all time me and Russ have ever watched. It's called Backcountry.
Oh.
I think it's on Amazon Prime right now. Literally the scariest movie of all time. I'm not going to tell you anything else. if you want to be freaked out, go watch Backcountry.
It's
terrifying.
It'll make you never, like, if you hike and you're an outdoor person, it'll really fuck with you. And
you will.
It's like Jaws on land.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But spoiler alert, it's a true story.
That makes it even scarier.
Yeah.
So, all right, everyone. Well, thank you for tuning back in. Have a wonderful week.
Hashtag, are you okay? You know, at least ask if you're not going to do something. In New York, sometimes, on the subway, don't ask, are you okay? You know if someone's not okay in the subway. And you're like, yo, get the fuck away.
But you're also very much a mind your business person, so this is surprising. I feel like this one kind of made you think and kind of caused you to question a little bit your super mind my business approach to things.
Damn, I don't like going back on my stuff. You know what it is? I don't like bullies.
And these were 2 children.
Yeah, and hundreds of other people possibly.
Yeah.
But I hate bully, like people that pick on weaker people because they can. So this dude drove me nuts.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
Fuck
He's
this dude.
a piece of shit. Level 11 piece of shit.
Yeah, they should have let him into Gen Pop and told everyone. They should have put a t-shirt on him as he's walking in that says child molester.
Yeah.
And put him into Gen Pop.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Definitely. Well, hashtag are you okay? If you see something, just ask somebody if they're okay.
If you're a pistol packing woman, just,
pull it out.
They keep them little 22s in their shoes. Well, probably in their bag. In their little fancy purse.
True. All right, everyone. Check us out on Instagram at Wife of Crime Pod and Facebook, Wife of Crime, the Crime Family, and Patreon, Wife of Crime Pod. And have a wonderful week.
Yeah, but you always forget wifeofcrime.com because we pay every month. We have dope-ass merch that Jade designs for us. And it makes you look good, but you also won't get kidnapped in it because they know you listen to Wife of Crime and they don't want the smoke.
Yep, they don't want that smoke. It's very true.
You're smoke proof.
All right, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was different. You usually say peace.
Peace.